Hi folks, Mr. Long here. We're going to talk about snow melt and snow accumulation problems that we do in class, where we have to write an equation with an initial value and a rate and then a final value. So on the left side here we're going to look at accumulation problems, right? Accumulation. So we're starting with 21 centimeters of snow on the ground, and then we're adding 6 centimeters every hour, and we're ending up at 93 centimeters at the end of the storm. So what we want to do is figure out how long that storm was. So we know the snow started at 21, it was growing by 6 centimeters an hour, the depth of snow, and at the end of our storm there was 93 centimeters of snow on the ground. And so it's a linear pattern in terms of snow accumulation. So let's take a look at this. Let's write an equation. So I know in terms of the starting amount, it starts at 21. Whoops. Let's erase that. Starts at 21, and then it goes up, so it adds, and it's adding by 6 every hour, 6x, 6 centimeters per hour. Hour is going to be our x value, and then we finish out with 93 centimeters. So the first thing we need to do is to isolate for 6x before we can isolate for x. And when I look at it, it looks to me like we've got to get rid of or eliminate this 21. And this 21, it's really one of the most important things that we can remember, is that this 21 is a positive number. It is in fact a positive number. So what I do is I have to subtract 21 from both sides. So 21 minus 21, that's gone. So I still have my 6x's. And then 93 minus 21 is 72. So I have 6 multiplied by x is 72. The opposite of multiplying by 6 is to divide by 6. And then x is going to work out to 6 goes into 72 12 times. So that's 12 hours. So our snowstorm was 12 hours. By the way, when you're watching these videos, I think one of the important things to note is you may have to go back to the start, look over a video again, and make sure you understand it, go through it, and then work through another example. You might even want to try it on when you're done. But after this video, you're going to do a worksheet about accumulation and melt. Okay, so we've done our accumulation problem right here, and now we're going to do what happens when snow melts. So in this scenario, we're starting with 138 centimeters of snow on the ground. The weather is quite warm, so the snow is melting at a rate of 13 centimeters an hour, and we finish up with 8 centimeters at the very end of this period of melting. And of course, we know in real life it wouldn't melt by the exact same rate every hour, but what we do in math is, as it is always done actually in math, no matter how sophisticated the math is, we try to make things simpler to help us write equations and things like that. Okay, so let's look at this. My starting value is 138, and in this case it's going down, it's decreasing, so minus 13 centimeters per hour, x's are hours, and we end up at 8. So we've been solving these equations a variety of ways. One of the things that we've done, and I will show it here, is that we will, when we have a coefficient of x and it's negative, we switch all the signs. So a coefficient is the number that multiplies into x. So right now we can see if we have a negative 13 multiplying into x, and we prefer to not have negative coefficients. I mean, you can work with a negative coefficient, but sometimes it's easier if you have positive coefficients. So if we're going to do that, I have to rewrite the equation switching all the signs. So this right here will have to become negative, then that will become positive, and the 8 over here will be negative. And that's an alternative form of this equation. Okay, so we switched the signs on every term. And we practice that in class because we know that 3 minus 1 equals 2, but I can also say that, and that is true, I can say that negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. And does that work? Negative 3 plus 1? Yeah, it is. It does work. So as long as I change the signs on everything, I'm okay. So let's take a look at this. What do I have to do? So look at our equation. The goal is to isolate for x, but First I've got to isolate for 13x's. So what's with that 13x's? And remember, I can read my equation in any direction. So it's 13x's plus negative 138. So I have to get rid of negative 138. Well, what's the opposite of negative 138? The opposite of that is to add 138. But I have to do that on both sides to keep it balanced. So that's zeros out. Then I've got 13x's are equal to, and I put negative 8 in my calculator plus 138, and that will be 130. And now I have 13 multiplied by x. The inverse operation of multiplying is to divide. We do that on both sides. So we end up with x equals 10 hours. Okay, so you may want to go over that again, folks. I know the tricky part to that is when you have a negative coefficient and we change it back. But I still think it's a worthwhile thing to do when you have a negative coefficient in front of x. Alright, so that's the end of this screencast. Make sure you go over anything to see if you need to go over anything to make sure you understand it before you attempt the homework. Have a good day. Bye-bye.